Welcome to episode 17 of the Busy Fit podcast. Today we will talk about my 5 non-negotiables to get in shape. And by in shape, we mean better energy, feeling better, more confidence, a better body composition, overall just improving your health in a nutshell with 5 methods that ultimately are going to help you be closer than you are now to improving your health. Before we dive into those 5 non-negotiables, I just want to take a second and say if you are enjoying this show and finding value in the content we're sharing, we're super passionate about creating episodes that inform, entertain, and inspire you on your journey. So if you're loving what you hear, we truly appreciate your support in helping us grow our podcast. So if you can leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, it only takes 5 seconds. It makes a world of a difference for us. Your feedback not only encourages us to keep producing great content, but also helps others discover our show. And if you've got a friend, family member, or colleague who you feel likely would benefit from listening to our podcast, please consider sharing it with them. Word of mouth is incredibly powerful, and your recommendation means the world for us. Let's get into it. Non-negotiable number 1, prioritize sleep. Get more, and if you can't get more, get better sleep. Sleep is one of those things that we all think about as something that we have to do, but not something that becomes a priority when we think about actually being in better shape. What we tend to forget is that if we improve our sleep, whether the quantity of it or the quality of it, we're going to be more sustained throughout the day with better energy. We're going to feel better. Whatever stimulus we have done the day before, whether it's resistance training, like getting to the weight room or doing any sort of body weight exercise, or if you're looking at something more cardiovascular, or even if you're just studying for a big exam or preparing for a big meeting, sleep is the best way to prepare yourself for the activity that you're doing the next day and to grow from the activities you did the day before. Now, it's easy to think about, okay, I went to bed at 10 p.m., which means if I want 8 hours of sleep, I need to wake up at 6 a.m. That's great in theory if we were getting 100% of the time that we were in bed was actually spent asleep. In reality, it's somewhere ranging between 75% and 92% of sleep efficiency is what we're actually getting during that time. So if you want to get 8 hours of quality sleep, you likely need to be in bed between 10 to 11 hours to be able to actually get that if your sleep efficiency is on that lower side. And this is one of those things, I know you're thinking everyone thinks today you have to wear a wearable or you have to actually make sure that you are, wearing your Apple Watch or something along those lines to track it. And you really don't need that, but you do need to track the actual amount of hours in bed and just putting emphasis in improving that time that you're in bed to get the most out of it. Now, if you do 1 or 2 things better, you're likely going to see better energy level, better long-term benefit than you would if you just kept doing the same thing. So if you're wearing a wearable, great, track it, do some things you can do to improve it. Now, don't wear a wearable and look at the data and not do anything, because that's just wasting that subscription that you're paying for. You're not actually using it for its benefit. But if you are going to use that wearable, then make sure that you're actually using it to improve your sleep. Now, I led off by saying get more sleep, and if you can't get more sleep, get better sleep. And that's the most important thing to think about. If you're someone that's overworked, stressed, tired all the time, you may have to work late some nights, and so you're not getting home till 9 o'clock, and you're not eating dinner till 9:30, and you're not unwinding till 11, and you have to be up at 6 the next day. There's no way you're going to get that 8 to 10 hour block of sleep that you truly need. Instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to throw my hands up in the air, I'm going to give up on quality sleep, I'm not actually going to do anything to make myself feel better, I'm going to just say whatever, I'm going to eat like crap, I'm going to drink a beer and do all of these things that aren't going to help us feel better the next day because, oh, well, we're not going to feel better the next day no matter what. You're really just digging yourself into a bigger hole. You're consistently going to have higher cortisol levels, and you're always just going to be broken down and feeling worse and, likely in a worse mood and overall seeing less overall benefit in your life and the actual actions that you're putting into it. So instead, think about if we're going to have only that 6 to 7 hour block to work with, let's put the most we can into it. And the way we'll do that is by improving our sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene is a term essentially saying we need to have a good bedtime routine, and we need to set ourselves up to get the most out of our sleep, because we know if we get the most out of our sleep, we are going to have improved hormonal regulation, better cognitive function, and overall just happiness and well-being throughout our day to day. So some things that you can do to quickly improve your quality of sleep. We are naturally set into a circadian rhythm, and our body wants to stay in that cycle. And it's very easy to get distracted by everything you have going on and actually get yourself out of a 24-hour circadian rhythm. You can end up in having a circadian rhythm that's 28 hours, and you notice you're just never catching up, and you're always tired, and you're not necessarily feeling at your best, and always kind of groggy and having brain fog. That can be a symptom of not being on an actual 24-hour clock. And some ways that you can make sure that you're on that clock, which means that you're going to get the most out of the time in bed because your body knows that it's time to sleep, is see sunlight first thing in the morning, not through a window. Try to get outside. Ideally, you would take some time to actually go and walk, but that's not realistic for everyone. At least make sure you're seeing the sunrise. Same thing at night. You want to see the sunset. You want to see the sun winding down. That's cues to ourselves that we're actually going to be able to wind down and get rest at that time. Now, during the day, we work with a ton of people that have offices that may not have windows. And one of the things that throws your body out of alignment is not seeing any sunshine throughout the day. And so if you're someone that works in an office and you don't have any access to like a window or outside light, get up, go for a walk, take a break, go outside during your lunch break. It not only is going to benefit you from a perspective of getting better sleep, but it's going to give you a boost throughout the day anyways. And that's just another thing you can do to help set your circadian rhythm into a better place to be able to get sustainable sleep and stay on that 24-hour cycle. One of the easy things that you can do in the evenings, and this is a common thing that we typically adjust pretty quickly with new clients, is think about your light sources in the evenings. And if you know you want to go to bed at 10 p.m., but you're someone who, I have insomnia, like I can't ever fall asleep, most of the time, not for everyone, and I was not one of those people that came easy to. I dealt with insomnia since I was a little kid and really struggled sleeping until I dialed in the sleep time routine for me that actually worked. Say you want to go to bed at 10 p.m. If you dim the overhead lights at 8 p.m., ideally you turn off the overhead lights. Like you would have just a lamp on, anything that's basically below eye level, because that signals to your brain that that light source is winding down, just like the sun would with a sunset. It's super important that you do that 2 hours before bed just to tell your body it's time to wind down. That's one of the easiest changes that you can make. For someone that dealt with severe sleep issues growing up, it's really important to me that I get quality sleep to be at my best. So we'll dive into what that sleep cocktail I do each night is, and it's simply magnesium glycinate. We basically put 1 scoop of that. We get it from Thorne. If you do want to use the same stuff I use, send me a message, just send me magnesium, and I'll send you a link to actually be able to get that same one. It works really well. And then in addition to that, once we put that in the cup with a little bit of water, I'll add light tart cherry juice. I get the light one just so it doesn't have so much sugar in it. But that naturally is going to help us produce melatonin and have us fall asleep naturally. Now, I mentioned melatonin, and there's 2 very important things to think about this. We hear it all the time. People are like, I don't sleep well. I take melatonin. It just doesn't help me wind down. There's a difference between making your body produce melatonin and making your body actually ingest melatonin. Ingesting melatonin is going to tell our body to make less. And so as you take that, you're going to be essentially producing less melatonin versus something that's going to help you actually produce melatonin and going to almost upcycle your body to get used to that sleep pattern better. And so your body starts basically producing melatonin at the right time each night when you're telling it to kind of have that cue with the tart cherry juice. And that's just another thing that you can do. Now, the next thing that's really important is thinking about screen exposure in the evenings. We all love to sit there and scroll and see like, oh, what's new on Instagram? And you can sit there and scroll for 10, 20, 30 minutes, and you're never going to capture all of the information that's going on in your phone at that moment, which means there's all this new stimuli that you're introducing to your brain right before you're trying to wind down. All the different thoughts and ideas and reels and hooks and captions that you're seeing are all just really just going to keep your brain working, keep your brain processing even longer than it really would need to, which means that's going to take you even longer after that to wind down. And so an incredibly important thing that you can do in the evening is just put your phone away. Like dim the screen. Ideally, you'd even make it go like black and white. Some people do that. I don't, but that's something that makes it a little bit easier for you to spend less screen time, especially if you are present with your spouse or your kids or friends. Be present with them, spend time with them. That's your one source of stimuli, your one source of connection at that moment. And that naturally is going to allow your body to say, okay, there's less things going on. I can fall asleep a little bit better. And I know you could be someone who's addicted to that phone and really wants to just like be able to sit there and scroll and think that's like mindlessness time. But there's really two things going on. One, it's not mindless time. You are ingesting all of that stimulus, but also the other thing that's happening is you're exposing your eyes to blue light, which is going to keep your mind up and running a little bit longer as well. Now, we love watching TV before we go to bed, and so it's not realistic for us to every single night just cut out the TV because that's maybe the only time we have to spend together during the day. I'm very busy with what I do. My wife has a full-time job, and so we're grinding all day, and I may not be able to finish up work until 7 or 8 o'clock. And for her, it can be the same a lot of the time. So that's time we want. We're not going to take that away. But some things that you can do is you can basically turn down the backlight on the screen. You can wear blue light glasses, or you can turn down the volume a little bit lower to make your body kind of just start to wind down a little bit more. There's hundreds of things you can do to improve your sleep. Pick one or pick two and start there and just slowly get more sleep as you go. Now, I probably spent a little bit longer in this topic than I would like to, but it is incredibly important because sleep is the foundation of everything. It's like if your health holds you back from being at your best every single day, everything with your health, this starts with your sleep. We joke that the best performance enhancing drug out there is sleep. It's going to boost your testosterone levels. If you're a guy, it's going to help balance your hormonal levels. If you're a female, you're going to be able to actually recover from what you've done the day before. We could go on and on and on for the benefits of it. But the simple thing to boil it down to is get more sleep. And if you can't get more sleep, get better sleep. The next area we'll talk about is to enjoy moving daily. Don't just move, but move in a way that you can enjoy, move in a way that you can be consistent with. And if your life is already intense, maybe stay away from adding intensity into what you're doing from a exercise perspective. Now, there is absolutely an exercise program that's perfect for everyone, that in an ideal world, in a vacuum where everything is perfect, you could do this exercise program and get 100% of that result. Now, that vacuum is just not going to happen. Life doesn't work that way. And your particular circumstance can be very different. You may be a former athlete that deals with tons of injuries and doesn't necessarily have like the time to train like you used to, and you need a different stimulus, and you're probably were overtrained during your time as an athlete. You could be a busy mom with 3 kids running around, and that's already stressful enough. We probably don't need to add in a bunch of stress on top of that by making a group fitness class or something that's really breaking us down. And most importantly, you have to enjoy the exercise that you're doing, regardless of whether or not it's like the perfect thing for you. The thing that you can do consistently year over year and continually enjoy is going to get way better results versus something that you can do in the short term, feel okay about when you're doing, but you don't necessarily love it or can't sustain it. You're just going to drop off at some point. And whether it's in 3 months, 3 years, there's going to be that drop off point. And I think people do not take enough time to establish that exercise that they truly just enjoy and love to do. Instead, kind of searching for that rush of like something that makes them feel like, yeah, I have to be competitive, or yeah, I have to do this competition or whatever it may be, instead of just focusing on like, okay, what can I do regularly? If you enjoy it, you will be way more likely to stick to it year after year after year. And if that means your source of exercise is like some light body weight stuff and walking, that's fine. Now, is strength training going to be more helpful and play its role? Absolutely, because we know that muscle mass deteriorates as we age, and we want to make sure that we have muscle mass before that happens so that we can have something to maintain. But that doesn't mean that's the perfect circumstance. If you absolutely hate lifting weights, well, you don't have to lift weights. There's other ways to do it, but just find something you enjoy and stick to that. The third non-negotiable is focus on whole foods. Look at the label. The less ingredients, the better. The grocery store can be incredibly deceiving. Something can be labeled as healthy or whole or a smart food. Emily Cayley, one of our registered dietitians, and I talk about this in depth, how those labels can be incredibly deceiving. Try to stay away from labels that are longer with ingredients. We've had a really interesting time going through this with my wife and I lately. We've been really trying to focus on whole foods as well, less processed products at the store. And you'll be amazed at how many things can look very simple and say, okay, it's just meat and cheese. And you look at the back and it has 30 ingredients. And that's when it's heavily processed and going to be a lot harder on your body. Is that the rule for everything? Like, are we saying you can't eat these things? No, but the majority of your nutrition should come from whole foods. It should come from fresh fruits, fresh vegetables. Some people do well with less grain. I know us as a family, we do well with less grain. Do we eliminate it altogether? No, but it's not something that we focus on daily because we know we feel better when we don't have it. And those things can sound hard to give up because you're like, well, I love these foods. They're something I've always had. By no means you have to cut them out. But when you start to consistently recognize what your energy levels and what your mood can be like and how you feel throughout the day, when you actually fuel correctly or fuel for setting yourself up for success, it makes you want those foods a little bit less. Now, we find ways around it. We make healthy desserts. And we still do even just like fried chicken. Like, we do all the things that we love. We just do those things in moderation, knowing we want to feel better the next day and consistently have energy, and also think about longevity being around for years to come. 4 is an incredibly important non-negotiable that is overlooked, and that's to surround yourself with people that support your goals and build you up. It really is amazing how much more you can accomplish and how much better you can feel and how much value you can get out of each day when you surround yourself with people that actually support your goals. Interesting, as we kind of develop through life, like there was definitely a phase where like I wanted a bunch of friends, and it's a social validation. It's one of those things of, okay, well, like, yeah, I want people to like me. I want to feel like I'm in those friends group and I want those people around. It makes you feel good. You think that that's the thing that will keep you from being lonely or upset or tired or anything along those lines. As you start to get older, I think you recognize that you feed off the energy of those people around you, and that does have a implication on your health and how you feel from the day to day. Just encourage you to kind of evaluate the relationships that you have around and see which ones build you up, which ones make you feel better, and which ones break you down, which ones are incredibly negative, and that negativity carries over into your life and how you treat the people that are around you, how you handle relationships, how you perform at your job, and your overall health. Because when you have a positive outlook and you feel like you're moving in a direction that's going to be good for you, that's just fueled by having the right people around you. And I think we forget that like we're all here to kind of serve each other and help support each other and care for one another. And that person that may be complaining to you, they may not be complaining to you because they need someone to complain to. They may also need someone to lift them up or challenge them a little bit. Like, oh my gosh, I'm stressed at this job all the time, whatever's going on. Say like, hey, like, but that career, like, you're really happy about it. It's done some awesome stuff for your family and provide some opportunities for you. And well, yeah, like that can be, it did do that for me. And I feel like that's a great thing, but it's easy to forget those things and be ungrateful. And so evaluate whether or not the people around you like need that support and they need that care versus someone that's consistently dragging you down. Those are two very different things. And so just be aware of making sure you're surrounding yourself with people that consistently lift you up and are rooting for you. I love the example, and I think I saw this, I can't remember the podcast I saw this on, but someone said, people love to root for you when you're not doing as well as them. when you're starting a business or you're, starting, they see you starting at the same company, like, oh, like so happy for you, excited for you. And then you get the really big promotion or the, business starts taking off and it turns into, oh, it must be nice. Like, must be nice. Cool. Well, good for you. And it turns that little bit of like resentment there. And it tells you like they were never really there to support you at the beginning. It was just because you were in a worse place. And think about it from that context. Like if you were to achieve all of your wildest dreams, do you feel like the people that you surround yourself with are going to care about you and support you no matter what those goals are along the way? And are they going to care about you at your worst? And so just, not saying you have to be selective with the people that you put around you, but you have to evaluate whether they're actually contributing to your life in a positive way. The last and most important non-negotiable is to fill your cup first. I think as we begin to recognize we have family around, as you start to have have kids and have all these friends and work and all these things going on, it's so easy to put yourself last. And I think this is definitely the most common problem we see or challenge we see with clients when they come to us is like they've neglected themselves for years, and not because they've intentionally neglected themselves, but because they've put everything else first. And they think, well, it's selfish of me to prioritize their self and to like take time for themselves. Like, well, that's just for me. Like, that's so selfish of me to take time for myself. And break that thought process and realize that when you put yourself first and when you allow your health to be where you want it to be and for your essential needs to be like covered and to be taken care of, you are so much better for everyone else. And this is like the interesting revelation I feel like a lot of our clients see. They're like, yeah, I feel so much more present for my kids and my family, and I feel like I'm a better husband and all of these other things because I took that time. It really does feed into everyone else what you put into yourself. And this is a hard lesson for me because I'll give you an example. Like my wife and I love like waking up in the morning together, being able to just like kind of cuddle and relax, like wake up when we want to. And the problem with that though is that I know for me personally, if I don't work out first thing in the morning, I will get consumed with work. I'll get consumed with everything else, and making sure everyone else's needs within our business and within our family are fulfilled, that I won't be able to find time to prioritize myself exercise wise. And that's something that I know I need to fill my cup and have the best energy. So 4 days of the week, I wake up earlier and I go work out, and I'm better for my wife during the day and during the night and the time that we have together outside of that. That giving up that little bit in the morning makes so much more impact later on in the day. And so don't be afraid to take that time for yourself, because you will be amazed at how much more you can show up for those around you just by taking a little bit of time for yourself. So I would love for people to see, I would love for people to get out of that mindset of taking care of their health and taking care of themselves is a bad thing or it's selfish. If you start with that, you're putting everyone else around you in so much better of a position. I hope you're enjoying our show and finding value in the content we're sharing. We're super passionate about creating episodes that inform, entertain, and inspire you on the journey. So if you're loving what you hear, we truly appreciate your support in helping us grow our podcast. So if you can leave a review on your favorite podcast platform, it only takes 5 seconds. It makes a world of a difference for us. Your feedback not only encourages us to keep producing great content, but also helps others discover our show. And if you've got a friend, family member, or colleague who you feel like would benefit from listening to our podcast, please consider sharing with them. Word of mouth is incredibly powerful, and your recommendation means the world to us. So thank you for listening today, and stay tuned for future episodes.